In this demonstration, let's check out how to set up Route 53 in Amazon Lightsail. Now, Route 53 is a DNS service in AWS that can manage your domain's traffic and route it to different AWS services and other external resources. By configuring Route 53 in Lightsail, you can enjoy the advantages of simple DNS management, health checks, traffic routing, and working together with other AWS services. Now, one thing to note, these instructions start from a configuration that already has a domain registered and a Lightsail instance that I've associated with the domain. So that's just something to keep in mind. So first thing we need to do is go to domains and DNS. And this is where we're going to start. Now, if you look at this page, you'll see the registered domains. And it's kind of funky looking. So it's devtestdomain 78675984.com. Typically, it's going to be something much simpler. Of course, like google.com, yahoo.com, microsoft.com, etc. But I created that just to make sure that it was unique enough to go through the registry for the sakes of demonstration. If you want to create a domain, it's simple. You just click this register domain and just follow the steps below. We're not going to go through it for this demonstration, but it's very easy and step by step. Yeah, let's go back here. Now, if you read here, it says that when you use Lightsail to register a new domain with Amazon Route 53, after you register a domain name, Lightsail automatically creates a DNS zone for you that has the same name as the domain. A DNS zone contains a domain name system or DNS records for your domain. Create a DNS zone for your registered domain to map it and its subdomains to your Lightsail resources, such as an instance or load balancer. Now, simply put, a DNS zone is like a phone book for the internet. It's a database that contains all the information needed to translate human-friendly domain names, again, like google.com, Yahoo, etc., into a machine-friendly IP address like 172.217.6.110. Each DNS zone corresponds to a particular domain name, and it contains a list of all these subdomains or individual addresses that's associated with that domain. When you type a URL into your web browser, the computer consults with the appropriate DNS zone to find the IP addresses that correspond to that domain name. And something to keep in mind also is the top level domain, which is going to be things like .com, .net, or more popular as of now, .ai. And they're mostly used for marketing. There's really no differences between the two. It's just a way to kind of categorize and help people understand what your domain or website is about. Different top level domains cost different prices when it comes to registering. So that's something to keep in mind. The most common one is .com, and it's about $13 to register. Now, if you want to get into things that are more popular or more unique, it's going to cost more money. And when you're going through the register process, it's going to show you all the different prices. That's just something that I wanted to point out. Again, Amazon Lightsail automatically creates a DNS zone for us. So we're not going to actually walk through the process of actually creating it again. I just wanted to explain to you what a DNS zone was and what the screen looked like if you wanted to create another one. So let's move on to the next step. Now, on this screen, we have to assign a server to the actual domain. So it uses assignments to point to a domain in your Lightsail resources, such as a load balancer or instance. Earlier, we created an instance. For example, I'm going to use the Ghost 1 instance. Okay, so we'll add the assignment. Remember, a domain name is responding to an IP address, and an IP address is on a particular device that has a web application on it, like Apache, that responds to the user request. So it has to actually go somewhere. So we're going to pick Ghost 1, and we're going to use the IPv6 address associated with it for now. Okay, all right, simple as that. And next, we need to create a record. In the world of DNS, an A record is an IPv4 address to any type of name. So for a quadruple A or AAAA record, that was added to accommodate for IPv6 addresses. So if you look through here, you'll see that the AAAA record is associated with an IPv6 address. For our example, we're going to add a record for an FTP server, which is a file transfer protocol server, meaning that if a user wants to transfer records from our particular server, they're going to connect to this particular address. Add a record, or FTP, and we're going to give it an internal IP address, a private one of 10.0.0.3. Okay, it's as simple as that. So what that means is when a user wants to transfer files or some type of information from our particular server, it can type in ftp.devtestdomain 78675984.com, and it will convert that to 10.0.0.3 because in our network architecture, we will have a server that's designated at 10.0.0.3 looking to respond to those type of requests. Now, really quick, I want to go over a few other record types. The CNAME is a record type used to specify an alias or a nickname for a domain or a subdomain. Now, the text record is a type used to add arbitrary text information to a domain or a subdomain. MX record is a type used to specify the mail server that's responsible for accepting email messages on behalf of the domain. For this particular example, it's going to be very long. Let's say Jamario at devtest.domain7868598.7.com. Now, it's going to be terrible, but again, this long domain name is just for an example. An NS is a record type used to identify the authoritative name servers for the domain or subdomain. If you're unfamiliar with what an authoritative name server is, in DNS, that's a server that holds the original and official DNS records for a particular domain, and its responses are considered the final and accurate ones. All right, and then the SRV record, now that's a type to specify the location of a service or server in a domain, typically used for VoIP and instant messaging. So I just want to give you a little understanding of the different options in Amazon Lightsail when it comes to records. All right, so that's it for this demonstration. To summarize, we went over the concept of a domain zone, the process of assigning servers to it, and how to create DNS records that map IP addresses to user-friendly names.